Okay, so as you know, today's session is the Developer Network. I've got my desktop shared, so everybody should see Developer Network. As you know, the Developer Network is one of our newer initiatives to be able to create, test, read documentation, all relating to APIs. It's both an environment to create and use them, as well as learn more about them. Today, we're going to have Josh speaking or answering the questions and anything that may come up on the spot about using it, what our development outlook is on it, the future of it, and I'll be taking some very specific APIs from the questions we received, creating them and showing them how they work. Okay, I got a request. Can I please speak closer to the phone? Okay, so I have two options here. Either I can go closer to the phone or I can move the phone closer to me. Let's see, is that any better now? Okay, I got a message that that's much better. Thanks. All right, so let's take a look at our questions, and let me give a plug. Like last week, I gave a plug for this one. July 2nd, we're going to be having another session on RSS feeds and making a new item list in the Primo interface. The RSS feed built in Alma for a new item list in the Alma Discovery interface, in the Primo Discovery interface. That's going to be July 2nd. Next week, we're taking a week off on the Ask the Expert. Okay, so let's begin here. This is now our 19th session, our 19th Ask the Expert session. Time flies. It seems like just yesterday we began this initiative. And let's begin. Okay, now the first three questions I'm going to mix together here. So first we're going to look at all of them, and then we're going to talk about them. Okay, the first one. I see there is an API for updating bibliographic information, and we're happy about this. Well, we're happy that you're happy. Will there be any issues when it comes to using various UTF characters with diacritics, umlauts, diaereses, tilde, etc.? Sometimes we also use non-Latin scripts. Okay, this one I know came from someone in the afternoon session, but in any case, it may relate to everybody. The next one, I see there's an API for updating users. Okay, so the first one talks about updating bibliographic information, now updating users. Could you show a real example of it working? Yep, we'll show a real example. What we're going to do is mix both of these. We'll see what I mean. When I test the APIs, I use an external app to test it, the Google Chrome REST client. When I do put in the app works, when I do put in the Developer Network it does not work. What am I doing wrong? Okay, so these three items we're going to mix together now. In other words, we're going to use the user and the title, and we'll use the put, and we'll mix UTF characters. So here we go. I'm in my I'm in my browser. Okay, so I'm just going to stop sharing for one moment because I don't want anyone to have any possible risk that they see me logging in with a username and password. So I'm going to go in now to the Developer Network. One moment, please. Developer Network, and I'm logging in. And in another tab of my browser, I'm going to go into the Alma, which is connected to this Developer Network. One moment, please, while I log in there. And I'm logged into both and sharing my desktop once again. Okay. So here we are. So in this browser, in this tab here, I have the Alma that this Developer Network is connected to. In other words, When I'm in this developer network and I have an API and I update a user, update a title, do something, it's influencing a certain instance or institution of Alma, either on the sandbox or on the production environment. When we get to Josh's question, we'll talk about the fact that everybody can or already has gotten a username and password, which automatically will relate to your institution. So here we go. I'm going to create now, brand new, on the spot, live, a application which is going to update a title, and we're going to use UTF characters. Okay, here we go. So the first thing I'm going to do is, if I'm not already there, go to the dashboard on the top. On the ribbon here on the top, dashboard, and then applications. Okay, now, I have some already here that I've been playing around with, but I'm going to make one brand new right now. So we see the whole process from zero. So the first thing I'm going to click, add application, named appropriately enough. Add application. Okay, name will be whatever you want. It's recommended you give it something memorable or relative to what it is, because later we have to choose it when we actually run it, so we'll want to know what it is. I'm going to call this one A the E, ask the expert, A the E update bib. Okay. Okay. Platform can be anything you want here. It's more for your internal use. Why are you building this? I'm building it for a web application, I'll say, but it has no influence on the actual API. Description, an application for updating bib records will be run from Johnny's application he built for the web, okay? Some kind of local whatever. Next step. Okay. Choose an API. So now what area are we dealing with here? In our case, we're going to do bibs, but we're also going to do users, and time permitting, we'd like to do acquisitions, but we never have time in these. I accept the terms and conditions. You have to choose that, okay? Now, you can save it now, or you can go to API management and deal with it then. I'm going to save it now, and then edit it later. Okay, save. Now it appears in my list, and now I'm going to edit it. We need to edit it because we need to say, do we want it to work on our sandbox environment or on our production environment, and do we want to give it permission to update and read, or just read? I think it's called read and write here, not read and update. Right. So in my case, I want it read and write, and I'm working against my sandbox environment and not my production environment. And that should do it. I'm ready to go. Before we run this, here it is, we're going to run it, but before we run it, let's go to Alma and take a look at something we're interested in updating. Okay, let's see if we've got anything here with Australia. If not, we'll choose something else. This is a smaller than normal database that I just use for playing around. Okay, Australia by Rohan Rivet. Let's take that one. So let's say now we're creating an API that someone will be using to update a bibliographic record without actually opening the metadata editor in Alma. It'll be some type of other application. I've seen this happen, I think something relating to ILO requests. Someone once made something. In any case, for whatever reason, the library wants to have a certain interface outside of Alma which updates bibliographic records without necessitating a user going into the metadata editor to do it. So, here we go. Steps to run the API. We go to Docs and choose Alma. This is all written down, by the way, in the documentation. Then we go to API Console, which is going to open up the API Explorer. And now we're going to select the API. The API area that we put into this API is bibs. Now, when we do this, we have all of our APIs here on the right API key, all of the APIs which have bib associated with them, which is why I stated it's recommended to give it a useful, appropriate name. So here we go. I'm going to choose the A to E update bib. Now, behind the scenes, the way, it's a very secure system, by the way. We'll be surprised there were no questions, Josh. Perhaps you were surprised as well. No questions came in relating to security. But it's a very secure system by the highest standards. And here, when I choose my API key and then hit authentication, the way I'm going to authenticate is by an API key. And this key is what's telling the API against which institution to run the API. So there's no way someone from outside can make a URL which is automatically going to go to your institution. The name of the institution is never in the URL, but we'll see that in a moment. So I'm going to choose by API key, and that's the API key right there. Now, select a resource. We're going to do it by MMS ID. We'll choose an MMS ID. And we'll start with a simple get. So let's get the MMS ID. It's asking for here the MMS ID. I'll come here. Here's my MMS ID copy. Okay, so before I actually hit execute request, we created just a brief overview of what happened. We created an API. Then we said this API is going to update and retrieve a record. Then we found the record, we put it in here. Now I'm going to do execute request. When I do execute request, it should, if everything works properly, give me this record right here in the interface. Here we go. Execute, I clicked it, I scroll down, and there's my record. So the record is here. That was just a get. Now, by the way, if we go to query, I always like to go to curl, but you can get the actual code of different programming languages or environments. In the curl, you'll get the URL. Let's take a look at this URL. If I were to stick this into any browser, I think stick into is not the technical term. What would be the technical term? Place. Place it into the URL bar. Okay, so I'm going to place this into the URL bar. And you'll see it also gives me the record. And up here, let me put this into Notepad so you can see the whole thing easily. The way it's working is it's using a standard URL, but the API key here is what's telling it what institution, on what environment and or data center to do this. So, for example, if one of the institutions out there makes one, you'll have some type of very long encrypted API key, and no one will be able to reproduce this in order to run an API in your environment. Okay, so that's the get. Now, there was also a question about someone using an external client. I also like to use an external client, even though everything I do in the external client at this stage, I can do in the developer network. So here I go to Chrome://apps, and I have the advanced REST client. And same thing here, I'm going to take this, put in my API key on top, put get over here, and click send. And same thing here, I get my record. Australia by Rohan Rivet, etc., etc., etc. Now, we're going to do the update part of the question. Now, first of all, are there any questions or comments until this stage? Participants, I'm looking at the participant list. If you have a question or comment, raise your hand. Nothing. Can you raise your hand just to let me know you're still here and the communication is okay? Okay, the hand went up, another hand went up. Matthew Hopper, Bronwyn, okay, everybody hears us, fantastic. It's actually nice having a small, intimate group. It's also nice having a large group, but this is a nice change. Okay, so now we're going to run an update using UTF, using a put, right? A put does the update, a post does a creation. That's not Ex Libris developer network rules. That was the same in Aleph, in the world of the APIs. But before I do that, what we'll do is go back to the developer network. I'm going to take this XML. Let me do that get one more time. And this, you can take, first of all, we need an XML as an input to do the put, to do the update. The XML you can take from anywhere. You can run an Alma export bibliographic records. You could theoretically get it from another library. All you need is the correct XML format of Mark XML, which for us librarians is, you could probably do it in your sleep. Okay, now let me paste that into a notepad so we have a nice environment to work with. Control-A, Control-V, and let me just save this so I don't overwrite something by accident that I've been playing with there. And I'm going to call this Australia Record. Okay, let's say we want to make a change here. And we got the Modern World Series. Is this baseball? 8 plates, like home plate. The Modern World Series. No, that's a different kind of series. All right. I'm going to go to Google Translate for a moment, just so I can get one of those tildes, umlaut, something like that. And then I'll also put in some Hebrew and or Arabic. So I'm going to say, give me, what just happened there? The Modern World, gives me German but nothing. I'll put in library. I'll put in book. I'll put in street. Then it'll give me Strauss with that funny S. Beautiful. All right, so now I have a non-standard Latin here. Don't worry, we're going to change even more. I'll put that, let's stick that in the 245 so it'll be easy for us to find. Where's my 245? Right here. Okay, so watch what I do here. I'm just going to paste that. I'll take my 245, I'll duplicate it. My former 245 is now a 246 alternate title. My current 245, Control X, has this. And by Rohan Rivet, I'll put in a whole nother character, set. You'll have to trust me that that says Rohan Rivet in another language. Okay, so now we have here, and we have here, and that, you know what else we'll do? We'll get one more. We'll put in the word small. We'll translate it to Spanish. Then we'll get pequeño with the tilde. Look at that. This is Josh's first Ask the Expert. He doesn't know how much fun we have around here. It's a blast. Okay, so what happened? This is, oh, I'm in the restaurant. Here we go. So the Moderna Pequeño Welt on the Strauss, written by someone with Hebrew characters. Perfect. So now I'm going to take this one, and we're going to do this two ways. Okay. Now, here, for MMSID, I only have get. It depends what I'm doing here. When we do users, when we do orders, we'll have put. Put is a new one, right, Josh? Put wasn't always functional here.
For the bids of this month.
Okay, so this month we're going to be adding put for the bids in the developer network. Now put is there for
users.
For users. So when we get to users, we'll do a put. And I did post yesterday from the developer network for orders. Okay, and that was successful. So here we go. We're gradually adding things, as you know, but as Josh said, put will be in here. Now that relates to one of the questions here that someone couldn't do put in the app, in the developer network. So it's not that you're doing something wrong. Some of the functions do not yet support put, but we're going to do put here. So now I'm going to switch this to put. And in my payload section, I'm going to paste the XML. Now you're going to be very careful how you paste it, that you don't make any errors, extra spaces, etc. In the payload section here, paste. And let's see, okay, here's my tilde, here's my S of Strauss, here's my Hebrew. We want to see the put in the developer network. Now I have the same URL here as I did for the get. I'm using the same URL as the get for the put. I just changed the radio button. On the bottom, it's also important here that you have application XML. Now, here we go. We're going to hit the put, and what we should see, just a little brief overview, we should see that the record will get updated in the user interface, and for that matter, here when we retrieve it. So here we go. Send. She's sending. That's good. When something takes a while, that's good. If something's really fast, it's usually a problem. Same thing like if you bring something in somewhere to get fixed. If they call you the next minute and say it's ready, they didn't do too much. But now it's working hard. It's doing that update. He's opening the metadata editor. He's retrieving the record. He's typing. And he's all done. Now we go in here. I'm going to retrieve this record again. And now we should see, instead of Australia by Rohan Rivet, we should see our characters. Retrieve. Click it. And look at that. Yep. That's our studio audience going a little wild. So now we have our tilde, we have our Strauss, and we have our Hebrew characters. We ran a put to update the record with the UTF characters. That talks about this one here, various UTF characters. Sometimes we also use non-Latin scripts. Everything is covered. Everything works on that one. Before we go to users, and then we're going to cut over to Josh, before we go to users, are there any questions or comments? You can raise your hand, just start talking, or send in a note. No questions or comments. Quiet crowd today. Just give me a hand raise to make sure you hear everything okay. Okay, Judith hears us. How about you, Matthew, Bronwyn, and Alma Development? Who's in there from Alma Development? Is that Jim and Tom over there in Alma Development logged in? Okay. Next, here we go. Alma Development, you're not going to tell me who you are you? It's Bar. Bar, is that you? Okay, here we go. Now, we're going to run through this one a little quicker. Oren! It's Oren. In that case, we're going to change our plan. We're going to go right to the update orders, the create orders. We said we were able to do a post. That's what we're going to do right now. Okay, I'm back in the developer network. We're going to run through a little quicker than last time because we saw the basic process. What's going to be different this time is we're going to do a post instead of a get and a put, which we did last time. We're going to do a post as a creation, and we're going to run it from inside the developer network. Last time we ran it from the API. From the client. Here we go. All right. Josh, you're keeping an eye here to make sure I don't make any silly errors. Dashboard. Applications. Add application. Same steps as before, same steps as the documentation. We're going to call this one AVE Orders. Platform. This is going to be an integration platform, and this is going to be create orders for other institutions in the consortium. I'm just making up some free text here. Who knows what they're really going to be using it for. That spelling is so bad that the spell check doesn't even pick it up. That's how bad my spelling has become. Okay, I'm not even going to try. Next step. Okay, this one we'll do acquisitions. Last time we did bids. I accept the terms and conditions. Again, we can click here to API management to do the actual editing on it, or we can save it and then do the editing in a moment. I'm going to save it. Now I'm going to say edit, and I'm going to choose API management, sandbox, read, write. That's because I choose the bid. Sorry about that, everybody. AE orders, that's the one I want. Okay, and we're going to say in API management, sandbox, read, write. Because this environment that we're playing with, my Alma here, this is my sandbox, and I want to read and write on it. So we're ready to go. Let's find an order here. That we're going to find an order because first we're going to retrieve one. That will give us the proper XML that Alma expects to receive for an order. Then we're going to run a post to create it. Here we go. Let's see if we got something with my name in there. Or we can make another order for the Moderno Pequeño. Search for PO line. There she is. Melville Dewey visits the library. That looks like a good one. So here we've got POL 11061. Okay. So that's the one we're going to run. Let me stick that into my notepad. Here we go. The suspense is on. Now we're going to run it. How do we run it? We go to Docs Alma. Then we choose the API console. Docs Alma, API console. Okay, select an API, acquisitions. Select an application, because now we need to create that unique key, which is what gives us the security. AVE orders, authentication. I'm going to choose an authentication method of API key. That's what to choose. API key. There she is. Okay. API key. Is that feminine or masculine API key?
In English language.
In English.
In English, it's unisex.
Neuter. There it is. Select a resource. Okay, here we're going to do PO line ID for our get. For the put later, we're going to choose PO lines only. For the get, we're choosing PO line ID. We're going to stick it right here. And that should do it, right? PO lines, PO line ID. I've got my PO line ID right there. Execute request. Don't give me an error. Wonderful. Look at that. So now we have our PO line XML right here. You don't even have to ask Ex Libris, can you give me the XSD? Can you give me a sample file, et cetera, et cetera? Just take an existing order and create it.
You have the doc right there in the developer network. You can look at too.
Yep, yep,
Sample.
yep. Right here, built in. Let's take this and paste this right here, Control A, Control V. If we really want to go nuts, we can put UTF in the order. Okay, so I'm going to call this an Australia order record. Okay, so that's the get. I'm going to go to query for a moment, and I'm going to go back to my curl. I like to retrieve this in various ways. So here now is my URL. Again, standard syntax and then my unique API key. We're going to take this. Let's do a quick retrieval here in the Internet Explorer. Okay, here's my purchase order line, funds, alerts, locations. And just for the fun, I'm going to stick that same URL into my DLF REST client of Chrome, do a get here and a send, and there she is. Okay. Now we're going to do the post. Post, we said, creates, get gets, post creates, put updates, and we're going to run the post in the developer network. So here we go. First of all, for post, I need PO lines, not PO line ID. The new PO line ID will be in the XML.
Return.
What do you mean returned?
It'll be returned to us. We don't give them one. Alma will return one. So, yeah.
Okay, now I'm going to say here that my new PO line number will be, for example, 2014 0618A. Okay, and this is going to be, vendor will leave the same vendor. Let's say we're ordering a book for libraries down under with an author in another language and with a tilde. Okay, so now we've got a lot of mixed in things. Our publisher is Pequeño with a tilde. Our author has a foreign language. Our title is Libraries Down Under. Our POL is 2014-0618A, POL dash. We take this. Maybe it does give a new one. We'll find out. We go to, where am I? Here. We go to PO lines. We put here our XML that we just made elsewhere. I paste this in. I want to make sure I didn't leave any extra spaces anywhere. It looks perfect. Okay, I edited it in the notepad just because it's easier to see and edit in the notepad. There it is. Execute request. This one takes a minute or two. No need to worry. Is it working? Is it working? Yes, it works. Little patience. Little patience. Yesterday I didn't have patience and it ended up working. Okay, great. No error message. Oh, it does give us a new number I see here. It gives us a new POL number. And here's our record. Let's go into Alma and search for orders with the string down under. Okay, I hope the studio audience isn't going to give us too big of a clap in a moment. There it is, libraries down under Pequeño. Let's take a look at that. And there it is. Okay, so we have libraries down under Pequeño. Everything was updated here. If we click the description here, the author was also updated to the foreign currency. It gives us a new purchase order line number according to the regular counting we have in customer parameters as if we had opened up a new one manually. Okay, so that covers my section. I want to leave time for Josh. Let's just see here what we did. We updated the bibliographic information. We used an advanced REST client that time. We updated the order using the real post in the Exlibris Developer Network. As Josh told us, the put is being added for more and more of them. And we covered these questions. Okay, we didn't make one for users. We don't have enough time. We'll see if maybe Josh doesn't take 20 minutes. Maybe we'll do one for users. We did one for bibs and for orders. It's the same principle there. Before we move on to Josh, are there any questions or comments from anybody? Oh, I see Ori joined us. Ori, did you see the update of the order, or did you join after that?
Yeah, I've seen it. Nice.
Great, great. Okay, any questions or comments from anybody? No questions or comments. Boaz joined us as well. Welcome, Boaz. Okay, so Josh, take it away. Here's your questions. You might want to read off all three questions first, and I can open up that letter for you if you want to go through it.
All right. Thank you, Yoel. Very entertaining as always. I'll just point out one note here. Back in the docs, you all did a get on the PO line in order to get the sample XML. That's perfectly fine. We can definitely do that. We also have, in all of our APIs here in Acquisitions, we have the documentation for all the APIs. Down here we list all of it, and Acquisitions is still in beta, the official release in September. We have here we have the three APIs, you all call the get, and we also have the post to create it. If I click on the post, I get detailed documentation on that particular API. I can actually do the same console from the specific API. I don't have to choose the API here because it knows that I'm doing post on this one. I can do my application, et cetera, et cetera. But here I see that it takes as a body object a PO line. I can get to it from here, or I see down here that the body parameters are a PO line object. I can click here to get detailed documentation on the PO line. And there's a lot of docs, including all of the possible values for the different fields. A lot of information, good stuff. It's a big API, obviously. And way down here at the bottom, if that's too much to read, we have here a sample. So we see here a sample. You can copy this from here, and this is a sample specific to the post, to the creation. So we even see here we don't need to send in the PO line number because it goes and creates one for us. So we can also copy it from here, fill in our values, and then use that to do our post. So either way it's fine. You can do a get to get a sample and then post that, or you can come over here to the docs and copy it and use that. Okay, now let's go back to the questions. On June 1st, a letter went out to the Alma list, titled Developer Network Alma API Availability, the June release. Could you review this letter so we can ask questions? Not a problem. I have the letter over here.
I'll open it here. As you can begin speaking, I'll open it here.
So I have the letter over here, and basically this note just talks about the launch of the developer network for using Alma APIs and how we're going to provide each institution with credentials. So a few things here. First of all, just so we're clear, the developer network does not require credentials for almost all of it. You can send links to your friends who are not Ex Libris customers. They have access to the documentation, to the blogs, to the forum. Everything is open. The only time you'll need a login, a username and password, is when you want to actually do what you all did, and that is to execute an API call, or if you want to actually contribute a blog or ask a question on the forum. But otherwise, everything is open. So that's the first thing. The second thing is you also don't have to be an Alma or an Ex Libris customer to create an account. You can go to the developer network. You can click on sign up, and you can go ahead and create an account, and then you'll be able to actually run API calls against our guest sandbox. So the guest sandbox is read-only, so you'll only be able to do gets and not posts. Or puts, so it's got, or delete. It's got limited information there. But you'll be able to actually run API calls and get back answers. You can call users, bibs, etc.
That's interesting. You mentioned delete. Did I see a delete option there?
We have the delete already for some APIs. For example, we have in the users area, we should have delete request here somewhere. Yeah, here it is. Yeah. To cancel a request, you can call the delete method.
Oh, you can delete it.
And you can also disable the user by calling the delete method.
Disable or delete?
Good question. I have to check and see exactly. Okay. I believe it's disabled. We can check and see if it's in the job. We can test it.
I don't know if we do it now, but that's interesting.
Yeah. So so again, we've got. So, by the way, you see I'm not logged in. I have access to all the docs. All that is open. If I want to, I can create myself a user. Now, if you actually want to call APIs against your data, which is what most people want to do, of course, you need to get your initial account provisioned by Ex Libris, because we need to make sure that your developer network account is associated with your sandbox and your production instances. So this email that was sent to the list describes how that works for the initial launch. For the initial launch, we went ahead and we created credentials for all the existing customers, both those who are in implementation and those who are in production already. For those who are in implementation, we sent the credentials to the project manager. And for those who are in production, support has those credentials. So if you're in implementation, you can get your initial credentials from your project manager, and if you're in production already, you can just open up a ticket and support, a case, and support will be happy to provide you with those credentials. Now, once you have those credentials, everything is self-service. So we see here that Yoel is logged in. Yoel is logged into his institution, which is this lovely name here, but of course you have an institution that makes more sense to your organization. And we see here that there is one developer, okay? This is the organization's admin. But if you want to create additional or invite additional people within your institution to have developer network accounts, and they'll be able to create applications and API keys that run against your platform, run against your institution, then you want to go here to invitations, and you want to invite a new user. You can put in an email address or several email addresses, and then those users will get an email, an invitation. They can click on the link, they can create themselves an account, and then they'll be related to your institution. You'll see them here in your developer list. And when they log in, they'll have access to all your applications. They can create new ones, they can make API keys, and they have their own account here in the developer network. Just one more note, the email does mention that you should change your password. So when you come in the first time, go to My Profile, change your password, do that one time so that we make sure that your credentials are completely secure. So again, 3 levels of access. Don't be logged in at all. You can see all the docs. You can have fun. create a guest or an anonymous account, and you can have access to our guest sandbox. But if you want to have developer network credentials that have access to your environment, you need to go in with the credentials provided to you, and you can either work or you can invite other people in your institution to work with you. So I know because we're launching this after Alma is live, of course, and we have existing customers, it's a bit complicated. For all new customers going forward, they'll get credentials as part of the implementation process. It'll be very straightforward. But are there any questions here about this initial ramp up?
You can send in a question, talk, chat, nothing.
All right.
Let's just get a little hand raise, make sure everyone's still with us. Matthew, Judith, Boaz, Bronman. Okay, everyone's with us. Fantastic. Okay.
All right, great. So that's how you get started. And because we are all about documentation here in the Developer Network, there's a Getting Started guide for APIs, and this basically goes through essentially everything that Yoel did today, and also talks about how you invite developers to your institution. It shows you how to call APIs, how to set up an application. All that stuff is here on this Getting Started guide, and we even have an FAQ here. We have the organization admin inviting developers, invitations, so all that is here. And we have an FAQ that has some additional questions for you. And if you have more questions and you send them in, we'll be happy to add them here to the FAQs to make sure that everybody has all of the information. Okay. So that was about getting started or ramping up here with the use of the Developer Network and being able to use all this exciting functionality, the self-service, the reports, the analytics. We didn't talk about any of that today, but there's a whole bunch of stuff in here. There's also a webinar that is published. That was done by myself and Vera Hoffman. If you're welcome to go in, there's more information there as well.
And this, of course, is going to be recorded
and
right now.
Exactly. Okay, next question. What is available currently for the API for user information and cache transactions seems sparse? How quickly will the API be updated with new functionality? Okay, so here's just a quick note about SOAP versus REST. Okay, REST API is just everything that we saw today using the REST client with the URLs and everything very simple. It's the, I won't call it new because it's been around for at least 10 years, but it's the trendy API style. SOAP is the previous trend. And SOAP APIs are a bit more complicated to call. You can't do it from a browser or even from a web page. You have to get some kind of a development environment or some kind of client, and it's a bit heavier. So the earliest Alma APIs were in SOAP. All of our new APIs are being released in REST, and for that, we hope that people are very excited. We are ourselves. So we have, there is a question here on the FAQs that talks about, are there still APIs that are only available in SOAP, and what are our plans to make them available in REST? So there is a small gap, and getting smaller, we hope, of APIs that are still only available in SOAP. We have the cache APIs, we have get and renew user loans, we have course APIs, and we have analytics APIs. All of them have plans to be moved to REST and be made available. And we'll go ahead and update this list as the gap narrows. We have coming up pretty soon, I know that we're going to work on analytics and we get and renew user loans. This list will get smaller until eventually the whole question will disappear because everything will be available in REST. But we'll see that one of the items on this list is the user cache API. So we go ahead and click on that, and we see this is in our SOAP section. We are SOAP, users, and cache. We've got retrieve cache. We've got paying, waive, dispute. So all these are available in the SOAP style. So you're welcome to use that if you have a need right now. As a matter of fact, we recommend that you use that if you have a need right now for cache APIs. And as I said, we have plans in our roadmap to make those available in the REST style too. So that is about the cache API. And the last question is also about API roadmap and API plans. We have a question here about user notifications, overdue notices, etc. We do have that on our roadmap. Right now it's scheduled for next year, but we have that on our roadmap for sure. And in terms of specific things to pay specific fines and fees, so we have, brings us back to our previous question about the SOAP cache URLs, APIs. So we have here paying a fine and fee. It's one of the APIs that's available in the user cache section. And we do have the ability to send in specific fines and fees to pay. And if you do so, you can send a list of fines and fee IDs. And if you do not send those in, then the payment will be applied against all fines and fees. If you do, then the payment will be applied to those specific fines and fees. So we have that functionality. Again, it's still in SOAP. You see the documentation is in a different, an older style. We don't have the access to the code table and the ability to test it right here, and the detailed data, dictionary, etc. But we do have these APIs still available. And of course, as the cache APIs are moved to REST, then we'll get the benefit of having all that great in-depth documentation and testing right from the developer network as well.
So in short, Josh, we can summarize that it's constantly being updated. We're constantly adding new ones.
Every month, every release, we're adding additional APIs. All new APIs are released in REST. Just keep your eye on the release notes and enjoy the new API features.
Okay, thank you. Well, that brings us to 8:56 local time. Any final questions or comments? There's no sense in opening up a brand new API at this stage with 4 minutes left. Anyone, anything before we close? Nothing. Okay, so thank you everyone for joining. We'll see everybody on July 2nd. That'll be our first summer Ask the Expert, and that'll be number 20. Maybe we'll have a special celebration for number 20. And we look forward to seeing everybody then. Thanks a lot and have a nice day.
Bye-bye all.